Okay, at this point we should be picking up where we left off. You should have colored your entire activewear design. And again, we wanted to give a color to the area that we want to use for a pattern. It doesn't matter what color that is as long as that color is different from everything else. I also showed you how to use that pattern itself to take colors directly from it. And in that case, you can always pick your color picker and click directly on your pattern to match a color on that pattern. And I use some of those colors in coloring. So for the first step, to go ahead and add the pattern to the actual design, I want to grab our move tool. I want to have our pattern, move it over so it's basically in the middle of your screen. We want to make sure that you're on that layer when you're working. And now what we want to do is we want to kind of stretch or enlarge this pattern. Now, mattering on what file size you picked, this could be either a really big picture or a really small one. So we need to know how to resize it. To resize it, we make sure we're on that layer and we go to Edit, Transform, and Scale. When you do that, you should see these little boxes that appear on the edges of your picture. And if you've used Word or PowerPoint or slides, you know that if you click on those corners, you should be able to stretch that picture out or make it larger. Now, what I want to do is I want to kind of stretch this picture out so it's big enough to cover the area I want to replace with a pattern. And in this case, it's going to be the red part of my design. So I've stretched my picture out. When I have it the size that I want it, I'm just going to press Return or Enter. Then you'll see those boxes disappear. That means it's out of that transform option. If you don't do that step, you're going to feel like you can't move on because it won't let you move on. Now what I want to do, since I have this the right size, it doesn't matter where exactly on the picture I put it right now. So I'm going to go back to my layers window and make this disappear. Once I've clicked that eyeball, it's still there, it's just invisible. Now I want to focus on selecting the area that I want to replace the color with that pattern. So to do that, I'm going to go up to Select on my top menu. I'm going to go to Color Range. And this is why it was important to color our pattern area in a different tone from the rest of our design. Once we click on Color Range, you're going to see another window pop up. That window might look like a black and white silhouette of your drawing. It may look a little different than mine on your computer as well. None of that is really important exactly on how it looks. When you have this window open, what you want to do though is you want to go to the color right on your actual picture. So we move this aside, and I'm going to click on the area that I want to select. Now what should happen in this box over here, this black and white box, is you should see that color in white and everything else in black. I could click on a different area. For example, I could click on this area and you'll see it'll select all the area that's color. We'll do it on the skin as well. But in this case, I want my pattern to be on this red area, so I'm going to click that. As soon as I have that, I'll hit Return or Enter. And what you should have seen happen is this dashed line box appear around the selected area. I'll go ahead and zoom in for you. That means that area has been selected, and that's what we want. I'm going to go back to my layer window. I'm going to open up my picture, just make it appear again. And now what I want to do is I want to see that the pattern I've created falls inside of that selected area. Now to move it around, you can just grab the Move tool and go onto the pattern layer and just move it around. And realize that whatever you place this, whatever's inside that selected area is the part you're going to be able to use. So you have a little bit of leeway. You want to make sure that this thing covers that entire selected area. If it doesn't, move it until it does. I think I like this right about there. Now that you have it set up like this, this will now select the area of the pattern to copy and to paste in that. To do that, all you have to do is hit Control and tap the letter C for copy. and then Control and tap the letter V for paste, V like victory. If you do that correctly, what you will notice is nothing's happened. But if you look at your layer window, you'll notice that a new layer has popped up right above your pattern. What you want to do is you want to go up to that layer. We're going to double click on the word. We're going to rename that one pattern. And then we're going to go right to the original one and just hit the eyeball. Once you've hit that, you'll notice that the pattern that you selected earlier has now been cut out and perfectly placed in the exact area that you selected. So that is how we'll add a pattern to our design. And again, I could have put this pattern anywhere on my outfit. I decided to make it 2 colors, and I opted for down the side of the design. The other part, the next part we're going to do is add a logo. Now to add a logo, we're going to want to find an image for that. So you can go to any sort of search engine, Google, whatever, and you can type in a particular logo. So for me, I will go for Adidas logo, and then you're going to see an option, and the option we want to find is Adidas logo PNG. When we select a PNG, PNGs are sort of files that are already cut out for us, and it's important to make sure we save a PNG. We can go for different logos if we want. We could do Gucci logo PNG, Fendi logo PNG. And what we're looking for is a PNG file. So you can pick whichever one you like, find it, and we've got to save it. But when we do save it, it has to come up as a PNG. We'll do Save Image As, and you should get a window. It might be slightly different on your computer, but the window should give you an option as to save it, where to save it, and then making sure the format is PNG. We'll hit Save. I'm going to go back to my Photo P assignment. I'm going to go ahead and open up that image that I just saved. And that's going to open up in a separate window. What we want to do right now is we want to make sure we just get the logo itself. To get that logo, we can also go back to the same select option that we did earlier. Select color range, and we'll click on the black, just like we did earlier for the selection area. And see that Fendi logo is selected. We'll copy it, Control C. We'll go back to our project, Control V, and the logo will appear pasted onto our picture. To resize it, we're going to use the same function that we did earlier, which is Edit, Transform, and Scale. Once you have those boxes, just like earlier, you can shrink this down. And if you click on the inside of it, you can move it. You can go ahead and place the logo right on your project. When you have it the way you want it, or the size that you want it, I'll make mine a little bit smaller. Just hit Enter. Once you've done that, you should have the logo set just like this. You have your pattern added to your design. Everything at this point should be painted, and as always, file save as a PSD. And you're done with that part.